All right, good evening, everyone. Great to see everybody. Welcome to the Guild. Nice to see everybody's smiling faces out there. We've got a pretty full room. Welcome to those of you that are watching us on either Facebook or YouTube. It's great to be back. In some ways, it feels like we were just here, but after driving to North Carolina and back and all that, it also feels like it's been a while. So good to be back together. I don't have a ton of things on the agenda to talk through our normal announcements. First, we'll go through our announcements, and then we'll follow up with show and tell, and then our program, kind of just like normal. First, I want to welcome any guests tonight. Do we have any guests here? Awesome. Thank you for coming. Any new members? Any of you all joined for the first time? Any new members? Awesome. Great. And those of you who are guests that have not joined, it's just a matter of time. So just go ahead and do that. We'd love to have you join. We certainly feel very proud of our guild, and we think that the value is pretty hard to beat. One thing I do want to talk about. So our location update. I don't have a ton of really hard facts, but I think what we can say is our location update is going pretty well. We think we have a pretty good line on a spot that's relatively close to here. We've got a few things to work out, so certainly nothing official. But I wanted to just kind of in general say things are going positively. I think everyone's going to be happy. That's probably about as many details as I can share because there's nothing finalized. But things are looking good in that area, and thankfully we don't have to move next week. Some people were concerned that our lease is up in May. That's May of 24, not 23. So now we'll run through the officers' reports. I don't have anything else. Mike McCauley is not here tonight. I think he's sitting by the bed with his wife, who's getting a little bit of medical attention. I think she's doing fine, so nothing of alarm according to Chris. So, officers, anything to report, David? No, nothing to report. Okay, David, nothing to report. As David's our secretary, so he's an invaluable member of our guild. Craig Arnold, anything tonight you'd have specifically? Craig is our member at large, and that's not a commentary on his physique. If it was member at large, it would be me. So. Yeah, pear is a shape. I agree. Okay, treasurer John, your first full meeting as our treasurer. Anything special to report, John? We're paying our bills and we have money to do what we need to do at the moment. The biggest thing we'll have financially is the impending move, though. That'll be. Thankfully, the guild's in a reasonably solid financial shape because we'll have some expenditures coming up. Assets, Chuck. I didn't see Chuck tonight. Is Chuck around? Chuck is not here, so we'll skip over him. Brian from communications. Anything specific? Nothing to report. Man, we're flying through these. This is my kind of meeting. Ron Hall, I saw Ron walking around again. Ron, great job on the newsletter. I know you've had some help now, so that's fantastic. So Ron, wherever you are, Ron, back there, great job. Thanks for everything and bearing with certain board members that seem to always be late that may be talking to you right now. I was only one day late this month. That was pretty good, but still late. Don, I know you've got books for sale, magazines, 25 cents a piece, 5 for $1, and books for $1. So, Old Fine Woodworkings looks like some tool magazines. So you've got some great stuff over there. I want to remind everybody that during your week and you're on social media, check out our Facebook page. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page. So have some good discussions. People usually asking questions about different things they're working on, maybe questions about where to buy wood, where to buy tools, like Rockler, for instance. Or there's some other place with green on it. I don't remember what that is. Woodcraft, Harbor Freight, right, Jim? So lots of good stuff on Facebook if you want to get out there. Usually there's someone out there that can answer a question if you want to get involved and answer some questions. A lot of you know exactly what people are asking. And we get a lot of interaction with people that are not in our guild. So that's also a good thing to be engaged in the community. Also, we're on Instagram. I know I sometimes post some of my projects on Instagram, which is kind of fun to do a little interaction with the guild, Kansas City area, and then different woodworkers from around the country. Let's see. We are on Twitter, but and then on YouTube we have all of our membership meetings, our skill builders. We have a lot of videos out there online on our YouTube channel, so don't forget to go out there, check those out. You can like them, subscribe. There's a lot of good content there. Any updates, Chris, on the podcast? Are we on hold at the moment, or are we moving forward?
Podcast was on hold between Kevin being out ill and then some changes to the AV, but those changes have been made, so hopefully we'll get back on those soon. So, but the podcasts are out on YouTube, and the majority of them are out on almost all your streaming podcasts. You can Google Podcasts, Spotify. I still have a few backlog to upload, but there's a good mix of them on there.
So my kids love Spotify, so next time we're driving, I'll say, hey, can I grab it, and I'll do Woodworkers Guild podcast. They'll be so excited about that. So you want any other events, Chris, coming up? I know we're talking about Handworks in the fall. That's a ways out.
Handworks is in the works, and then I'll go ahead, and we're still planning on, right now, depending on the move and everything else, but tentatively we're still planning on Santa's workshop and the after Thanksgiving. So once we kind of get some clarification on the move and stuff, that will kind of depend on the Santa's workshop. But pending we are going to have that, then we'll need vendors to have your booth set up and sell your crafts. Those that have been here in the past 2 years, it goes really well. It's a lot of fun, and we get lots of kids. They're here making toy trucks that they get to take home and get introduced to woodworking. So that'll be coming up in November, and then, like I said, late August, early September is Handworks. We're working on details to get a group going up there to Iowa to that. And anyone who was at the L&K Mill and Grill last month, that was a huge success. And on behalf of Larry and Cammie, thank you for coming out, and I think we all had a good time.
All right, thank you, Chris. Membership, is Jim here tonight? I didn't see Jim. Is he in there? Oh, he's just walking in right now. Jim, perfect timing. I just called your name. Any update for membership? All right, we're up to 883. That's awesome. Because yeah, there's some new members tonight. Yes. If you have any membership or name tag questions, Jim's your man. Programs, Matt, you want any update? I know we have our friends from Rockler tonight with the Tormek, which is I'm very interested in watching that because I've never used one. It's kind of fun to be able to see that in action. Steve, any safety comments tonight? Anything you want to announce? Absolutely. All right, come on up, Steve.
I hate to wreck the spree if nobody talked, but I haven't been here since last August. So, safety-wise, we have a router video ready to go. The script, I believe, has been signed off on. So we need a on-person personality or an on-camera personality. So if somebody would like to be YouTube famous and feels like they could run through a script with us, reach out, we can talk.
What machine is it again?
Router table.
Router, okay.
Router table, yep. Not a router table. We are always looking for committee members. So if you have one Tuesday a month free and want to get involved a little more in the guild, we'd love some help. Meetings are usually quick, but I guess a fairly important aspect of what the guild does here. And then the last thing I just want to mention is a couple things that foremen are mentioning when I'm speaking with them. So safety glasses come on the second we hit the door, and they stay on until the second we leave. I see a lot of, I'm here on Sundays, I see people, sometimes they've got them on, sometimes they don't. They're at their bench, there's no safety glasses. They're walking through the guild, there's no safety glasses. So it's honestly, it's the second you hit the door till the second you leave, you wear your safety glasses. Then the other thing the foremen have mentioned to me is they've run into a couple instances lately of people walking away from machines with them still running. So especially the bandsaws, those two smaller bandsaws are pretty quiet. The small icon on the end's got that dust collector attached to it, so you don't really hear it. So shut the machine off, stand there, and watch it wind down. When it comes to a stop, you can walk away. I don't know if, is there still that huge pile of cartridges in the office? Yes? Okay, so on your way out, take a look through the window. I bet you there's 25 saw stop cartridges on the desk. I understand we may have had a technical issue with one of the saws, but we're setting off cartridges, again, from what I understand, because people aren't letting the blade wind down. That when you hit that paddle and you shut the saw off, that blade is still live until that light stops blinking. So you have to stand there, you have to take a half a step back, and you have to let that blade come to a complete stop and then sit there for a couple seconds. If you're reaching in and trying to knock off a little offcut or sliding over with your tape and you're making contact, you're setting it off and you're on the hook for a blade and a cartridge. So just really, you know, shop safety, it should be your number one concern the second you hit the floor here, but make sure those machines are off, make sure that blade has stopped spinning, and then just be careful. I mean, we've been real fortunate with no incidents, but it takes everybody to make sure things happen right. So reach out if you want to be in a video, if you want to be on a committee, and let me know if you got questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Absolutely, safety needs to be number one. Great job. Sponsorship. Dwayne has things to raffle back there. Looks like 8 things to go buy tickets. Looks like we got a compressor back there. So hey, that's worth digging into your pockets and buying some raffle tickets. That's something that Orion saw blade. Is that? All right. So go back and check out the goods back there and buy the tickets. We'll do the raffle right after our break. And training. I know Kevin is on a little bit of time as he recovers, and I haven't seen Norm here. Does anybody have any comments as far as upcoming trainings? Maybe we'll skip over that for tonight. And we always have a skill builder at the first weekend of the month. Do you know what the skill builder is coming up in June? Oh. In Tarja. Oh, that's cool. That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one. Thanks, Dave. I'm trying to put together a skill builder myself sometime, and it's going to be about making patterns if you're trying to reproduce a piece of furniture. But one weekend my wife said let's keep that open, and the other weekend we have a wedding, and then the next one she said wanted to keep that open. So Norm and I are going back and forth about that date. So, and then she said, "Do you have to do that training?"
Quick comment on the skill builder last month. Those that were watching online, there was a technical issue with the video. I'm trying to see if I can recover it and get it uploaded, but as of right now, it has been taken down due to technical issue. Several people have reached out to concerns, so it's one that has been addressed.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Well, that is through all of the officer reports. Now we'll reach out to our SIGs. For those of you that are new, our SIGs are our special interest groups. We have 5 of them right now. So first off, we have the hand tool SIG, which meets the 4th Sunday of the month from 2 to 4. Does anybody have any announcements for the hand tool SIG? Doing dovetails on the next hand tool SIG. That's great. Are you leading that, Wayne? That will be that's a good one. Everyone should make that. Those are some clean dovetails. Wood carving group. Any announcers from the wood carvers?
Commandeered.
Okay, we're going to carve Tuesday night. So the Woodworkers Guild meet the 4th Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8. So typically, you always say we do hand carving, power carving,
power carving, and wood burning. We got a lady that's coming that's a real good wood burner. She said she's coming this month.
Cool, that's a great skill. And I think any of you, if you have a wood carving project that you're working on, bring it in. We have the crew to help you out and help you to get to the next level. Or maybe you can teach some things as well if you're working on that. Laser engravers meet the 4th Wednesday of the month at 7. I know Mike's not here. Do we have any announcements from the laser engraver SIG? The scroll saw, 2nd Wednesday of the month at 7. So just met last Wednesday. But George, is George here? Any announcements on the scroll sawing? No announcements, just come on out next month and do scroll sawing, huh? Okay. And then the CNC group, I think Ed is here. They meet the 3rd Tuesday of the month from 6:30 to 7:30. Ed, do you have any announcements? Nothing new, so holding the standard meeting. So, well, I'm very excited because it's not even 7:20. We made it through our business portion of our meeting, so that's good in my mind. Now we'll get to what everybody loves. We'll do our show and tell. So looks like we got some great projects over there. And so Jim Bainey always does a beautiful job of our announcements. So come on up, Jim. And if you've got a show and tell project, make your way over like we typically do and kind of get lined up to come up and show us what you got. Jim, you're moving a little slow tonight.
Got a new hip. Yeah, so last Wednesday I went in for surgery to get a new hip, and the surgeon says, "You're Jim Bainey, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You belong to the guild?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "What if I told you we got this new hip over at Harbor Freight?" I said, "Can you reverse this anesthetic? Because I'm off the table." Okay. We got a bunch of projects. So come on up. Craig?
Get me turned on. There we go. This is a step stool for Lacey. I laser engraved the top with her name. She was supposed to get this when she was 3. She's now 5. For her birthday, yeah. And on the inside, on the bottom of the inside, there's a little message there to her as well. Happy birthday from Pop Pop. That's who I am. So, this is the first project that I've used my 8-degree forest blade. You tilt it 8 degrees and it gives you a flat bottom curve. And so I was able to cut the tail boards perfectly with that. You still have to be able to transfer the tail boards to the pin boards and cut on the correct side of the line. Which you'll notice there's a couple of gaps in here where I did not do that. But she will not know that. So, but anyway, it's just finished with boiled linseed oil. Those who have taken my finishing class know that I like to heat the oil up in a crock pot, get it about 140 degrees, put it on hot, and the pores of the wood open up, and then sand it while it's wet with 800 grit wet dry sandpaper. And that's how you get this. My wife calls this the buttery finish. She likes the way this feels on here. So, but wood's cherry, and then the screw, there's actually screws in here, hold this front rail on. The plugs are African blackwood. So, that's about it.
So how old is she?
5.
And it took 2 years to get this off the.
Yeah, well, there was other things in intervening time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Been there.
Yeah, you know the problems I have. So.
Very good. Anybody got any questions about this particular project? How many people have taken his class? Oh,
There's
a good number of us.
There's a few
Yeah.
of you. You had a question?
You said heat the oil,
Mm-hmm.
leave it on, and then use 800 grits.
Wet dry sandpaper
And
a
that's
flat
it?
flat sanding block.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
there's
then-
only one coat on here currently.
Wow. And then you just wipe it.
Right. Then you wipe off the excess until no more comes off on a clean white rag.
Yeah.
Let it set overnight, and then you take a white Scotch-Brite pad because the pores will shrink. You know, they've had that hot oil in them.
Yeah.
The pores will shrink, and then it will weep some oil. And you take that white Scotch-Brite pad and just knock off that wept oil, and that's what you come up with.
Fantastic.
And I didn't do all sides. I just did the show sides on that. I didn't do the inside of it that
Yeah.
way. So,
Thank you.
no, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Thanks, Craig.
Did you
Nice
have one?
job.
Yeah. Did that come from a plan or somewhere, or did you just?
This
sorta
was actually
figure it out?
Tommy McDonald.
Okay.
This was on the cover of Fine Woodworking magazine probably a decade ago.
You know what? I remember when Tommy was doing the step stools
Yeah.
15 years, 20 years ago. So
And
that's
he
cool.
had, I think he did a show on it too. So this is one of the things that was kind of important that they pointed out in the article is you can see that this has been tapered here. And the reason being that when you get up on this step, your center of gravity comes this way. When you taper that, you can put this right up against a cabinet and your center of gravity, though, still back under the center of the stool. So that's why that tapers on there. So that's an important thing to keep in mind if you are going to build one of these, that is tapered. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, who's next? You're walking slower than I am.
Okay, this one?
Yes.
Well, I'd have been here last month with it, but the day before the meeting, I broke 3 ribs in my tailbone. So, yeah, I'm walking. And they told me they're lubing that hip with Odie's oil.
No, I had a grease circ put in.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, this was made in the class last fall here. I did the little stool, the little short stool, kind of as a warm-up to make sure I wouldn't screw this one up too bad. And so it's cherry, pine seat, a little bit of oak in there, and ash on those, and Odie's oil. And the challenge was down here in the curved scoop in the back and smoothing out those wedge tenons. That was a pain. And I spent months kind of sanding on it and decided I'm done. And the legs will be getting shortened. I was telling Jim I've got 8 other ancient chairs in the house, and they're all too tall because I'm short. I got short legs, and so I'm going to experiment on all the other chairs to get the exact height that I want. But you can always cut it off more. You know, I keep cutting it, it's still too short. So there you go. Questions? Yes.
My question is how do you get all of those angled pieces to go together at the same time?
You follow the instructor's directions.
I'm sorry,
I don't know. I did what he told me to do.
okay, because I've got an old chair that I dismantled
Yeah.
many years ago, and I haven't figured out how to put it back together yet.
Oh, I have several of those. At one point in our house, all the chairs had a little rope on them, like a museum, that said, "Don't sit here," because it was going to fall apart. And I finally got them all knocked apart and put back together.
Well,
So-
I've got this one knocked apart. I just haven't gotten it back together.
Okay.
I've sanded all the pieces and cleaned it up.
Yeah. God bless hide glue. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of using, but still,
yeah,
I'm sure it was hide glue originally.
that's why they came apart. So
I built one of these mine's a rocking chair, and it's the same style where the arms aren't tied into the back, and the back really flexes. These are incredibly comfortable chairs. And Dave, what's Dave's last name? The
I
guy
don't
that
know.
taught the class.
yeah,
That's one of the questions I asked, because how do you get this and get these spindles of different size and different angles in at the same time? And he said you just fudge with it until it works. What you want to try and do is make these as thin as possible, so you give some bend and some give in them. That was probably the most difficult part of doing this chair, is getting these arms set. Just drilling the holes to get this hole and this hole to line up. I have since found another way to do that, but yeah, that's a real difficult process, the procedure.
one of the fascinating assembly pieces was with all of these. That was all eyeballed and drilled by eye. There were no measurements taken for these. And he shows you how to do that. He says, I know your eye's good. And you just slap the rail up there with some clamps, and they're sticking up there, and you eyeball it, and you mark them, and you drill the things, and it's like, oh, wow, it worked. I'm fascinated. And during the glue up, we split the seat. So on this side, there's two pins going in here, and they go in about 3.5 inches each because the seat started to split. And on the other side, they're forward of that, I think, because it started to happen on the other side too. And he said, well, don't worry about it. Nobody sees both sides of the seat at the same time. And I go, oh, yeah, okay, I got it. But it was fascinating. I'd never done anything like that before, and it was fun. So I'm done.
So, a question: when you made the top rail,
Yeah.
You used you heated that, steamed it.
Yeah, he had a bin with boiling water in it that you just put the wood in for an hour, and then you pull it out, and he had a single
Come along.
block. There was the male portion of it, and a come along with a piece of strap like webbing, like you see the truckers use across the big loads, and then a come along on this big beam, and you just jack that baby down and pull it into shape and let it sit there an hour and pull it off, and it's done. It was just fascinating. But I did all the smoothing and shaping before that. And then I only had to finish sand it just a tiny bit afterwards, just knock some of the raised grain off, which was a godsend. I'm glad I did it when it was flat.
That didn't work for me. I split it out like 4 times. I was using a piece of oak which was a bad decision. But I ended up eventually laminating it and gluing it up in a press.
Yeah. And you mentioned these being flexible. These are wide below, and they're very thin above, tapered, which makes it like a lumbar support. So when you sit in this thing, you lean back in it, and it supports your back. And it's really cool. I love sitting in this thing and reading.
Yeah, they're extremely comfortable. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Works. Orange. Orange. The depressions you sit in, what tool did you use to cut those out, and how did you get them consistent on each side of the seat?
Scorp. I've used a lot of scorps and draw knives in the past. I was very comfortable scorping that out. That was the most fun I had.
Did you sit down and trace around your own to determine how to make it, or
I did a lot of sit tests.
or did you find someone smaller to trace around?
Nope. That fits me.
Any other questions? Thank you. Nice job. You plan on doing any more of these?
I only do one of anything.
Okay. Answered that question. Next, Ken? Right there.
Okay, just a small box. The spalded maple, walnut pull on it, and walnut tray inside. The legs are tapered, give it a little different look. And it's finished with shellac and polyurethane, a little wax on top of that.
So this is all spalded maple?
All of it is now walnut. Pull
Okay.
and the tray are walnut. The rest of it's all spalded maple.
So did you build this for a purpose to give to somebody, or was it just a,
Somebody will come along and want that.
okay,
The last one that I had here was kind of similar, had different legs on it, and it ended up going to my grandson. So
okay.
there's always somebody that wants a little box. They just need one for something.
So this is a future present, future gift.
Future gift for somebody.
Okay.
Somebody will want that, and I will.
How do I get on your list?
Oh, you're on my list.
Oh, well,
It's a different list, but you're
Okay.
there.
all right. So, and you finished this with,
It's got a shellac, an orange shellac, and then
okay,
I thought he was going to tote away with it. Yeah, it's an orange shellac, and then polyurethane, and then a white wax. That's
okay. Anybody got any questions about this project?
Can you tilt it up so I can see it from the top, how the legs fit into the sides? Take the lid off. Oh, look, that works too.
Like this?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, now I see it.
Okay, so you see the outline here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
just come over and look at it when it's on the table.
I can see it. Thank you.
Anybody-
Everybody in here can make a box like that. They're simple. I did it. That proves it.
Any other questions?
What did you use for the red felting? The red material on the inside. What is that, felt?
It's just felt, and it's glued onto a piece of cardboard, very thin cardboard. Just glued on there with some spray-on glue. Put it on the back and then hook it on there. Works real good. When you cut the cardboard, leave about 1/8 of an inch on one side, and it'll be enough to take up the slack.
The full fold over on the
the fold over.
Mhm.
And that'll take care of it. Just on two of the sides, leave an 1/8 of an inch. 'Cause you get about a 1/16 of an inch fold over on each side.
Okay, any other questions? Nice job, Ken. Thank you. Next. Wow.
Yeah, it's a pair of cardinals. They're made of Tupelo. The branch is made of Tupelo and carved also, and it's painted with acrylic. So it took me about 4 months to do it. I don't have any idea how many hours because I work on it an hour here, an hour there. Yeah, it's just something I thought up and designed myself.
So, do you carve with
Yeah.
Dan and?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And then you just paint a finish on this?
Yeah, he uses oil. He's an oil-based person. I don't like oil-based, so I always use acrylic.
Okay.
To me, it's easier. It's easier to manipulate for me personally.
So is this going to be on display in your home?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a bigger collection or of birds or?
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah. I've got a number that I've done with him. And
you got to put it up right up close to.
sorry.
There you go.
I have a number of birds that I've done with Dan, but I've done a few of my own too.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about these? This is awesome craftsmanship. Wow.
Yeah, it takes a while. Not an easy task.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Was that all just hand knives, or did you?
No, you use a micro carver. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like an industrial Dremel type thing, but it's smaller and faster. You also do a lot of it is pyrography. So all of the individual feathers that you see, the texture on the feathers, that's just wood burning.
Oh, it is.
And yeah.
Wow, it's very nice.
So out of curiosity, something that specific and artistic, do you make mistakes when you do that, much like we make mistakes when we build furniture?
Yeah.
And so is it a situation where you'll see them and I won't, or do you fix them?
Well, it's both. I go back and I fix things, but yeah, there are things that I know that are wrong with it, but
yeah,
other
I'll never
people,
know, right?
Yeah, won't necessarily know. Yeah.
Don't tell your grandkids. I got a cutting board. I got it on display every time my 10-year-old grandson comes in. He says, "Mistake right there."
Yeah, I was making another bird that had its wings open, and a friend of mine's girlfriend knocked it over and broke one of the wings off, and I fixed it, and nobody could tell that it had been fixed. But yeah, mistakes happen, so you just have to figure out how to cope with it and move on.
I heard you say, and I think I've heard this before when you or Dan or have come in and you carved your mount, your whatever the branches are.
This is carved.
What is the basic reason you wouldn't find like a branch to match, or is it just because you have exactly what you need in mind? Just kind of
it's when you're. I mean, it's just something I'm.
So you can carve exactly what you want.
Yeah, it's exactly what I want. It can handle the weight. distribution.
So structural.
Because it's structurally sound with it having as many feet on it. If you go out and try and cut
might
off,
take a long time.
yeah, you're never going to find one that could
And
necessarily
is
fit.
that individual pieces like joined together?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this is one piece. This is two pieces. This one's 3 pieces. So
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Do you use photo reference or do you sketch it?
oh yeah, you use a lot of photo references because you can. They're all 2D, so you have to get many different photos of. I just look on the internet and find stuff, and you can go on Pinterest and type in whatever bird you want, and there'll be hundreds of pictures of them. And one of the things that Dan has taught us is that you do a clay model first. So if you do a clay model, it'll be a lot simpler. I did not do that with these, but typically I'll do a clay model first, and that way you can make your mistakes on it, and it's a lot easier to add with clay. And then once you take away too much on wood, it makes it a little difficult. Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Great craftsmanship. Very nice. Thank you.
First, let me show you the inspiration for this. So the camera can get an idea. Here's the tulip up here at the top. Anyway, the so-called father of marquetry is Andres Boule, 17th century, who built furniture.
You got to keep this real close. There you go.
Who built furniture for Louis XIV, the Sun King, spare no expense. In any case, this is a bouquet on one door of a 9-foot tall cabinet made mostly of ebony. The background is actually tortoiseshell. So, when you cut marquetry, I use the technique that can't think of his name. Anyway, a famous guy who gave a couple of classes here, I'll think of it in a minute. In any case, you can stack as many as 16 pieces of veneer and cut them simultaneously. In this case, there were 3 background colors. There's one. And 5 different veneer colors for the field. The idea is both color and contrast. This piece has 162 pieces in it. The problem is keeping them all arranged. And when you cut 16 identical pieces, it's very easy to lose the one you wanted. So everything immediately goes into little baggies, and that takes about half the time. Of course, I made 3 simultaneously, but the total time, somewhere between 35 and 40 hours. Not something if you're not retired and compulsive. In any case, they're really pretty. These each of these has minor errors and mistakes in it that I will fix. I finished them with shellac. And if you put on enough coats of shellac, you can sand them and get rid of all little divots and imperfections. I didn't go that far because I wanted to get it here tonight. So I'll take it back. These have been, as I say, done with shellac, and in the end, I buff it with a medium grade of pumice, and that gives it that matte color. So,
What are you going to do with these? What are they going to end up enhancing?
I'm not sure. They could be the front, I think, of a cabinet. It'd be a pretty good sized cabinet, maybe a jewelry chest with lots of drawers. If I had, say, the mirror image of this, perhaps there could be 2 doors to a larger cabinet. Alternatively, I could put a small gold frame on it and you could hang them as decorative. But again, it takes an awful lot of time. I do it all on a skill saw, much like the ones in here. So, there it is.
So, when you get ready to put all these, organize these and put them all into a picture, you do this, you glue one piece at a time down on a mat and just
No.
expound on that?
Actually, you have to be careful as you cut these, because you want to cut pieces out individually and not cut out something that has 2 or 3 pieces. So, and of course, you have to have a map of this thing. You have to have a copy in which every piece has a number. And then when you reassemble, you know where each piece goes. So I would probably cut the stem and come around this side and maybe cut these pieces. And so you kind of step your way through it. But again, the secret is don't get ahead of yourself and do something stupid. It's fun, but it's tedious.
How often do you do this? Do you do this on a daily basis, or?
No, actually, I've been pretty sick off and on for the last year, but I might work 8 hours a day and not get back to it for several days or even a week.
Okay.
And I don't know why I do this. They have no real use, and if I wanted to sell them at $20 an hour, they get pretty expensive. So $300, $350 a piece. And I don't really have a market for it, but I'd take $400 tonight. There you are. It's a bargain.
Questions?
Well,
Dave, have you got any questions about this? No, he did a great job. Awesome. Yeah.
Andre Spool did a better job, and he cut each piece individually with a donkey, a little table with a saw blade that you move up and down. It's either he or his apprentices. I expect he drew the cartoons and they cut the pieces. There are again, in addition to the color, it's the contrast. And sometimes if you have a particularly expressive grain, you want to orient it. If a leaf is going this way, then you would orient it that way. And that's why it got to so many layers. Actually, basically doubled the vertically oriented pieces to get some at angle.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. This is awesome. Wow. You going to tackle this next? No. Just thought I'd ask. Okay, Steve.
So last month, I brought a box that was full of drawers.
Just like Steve. Hang on a second. He's got to turn it on. All right, you're good.
Last month, I brought a box, same size, same style, full of drawers. My wife approved the drawing, thought it was great. And when I finished it, she said, she can't put anything big in there. So this is for my granddaughter. She's graduating high school this weekend. And my son said she has all her keepsakes in shoe boxes. So I thought she needed something besides shoe boxes. It's all hard, it's all maple, curly maple in the top, hand-cut dovetails, trans-tint dye, shellac, and wipe-on poly.
And she's graduating from high school this week, and this is her graduation present?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them are graduating?
No.
Or both boxes?
Both boxes.
Oh.
One's my design, one's my wife's design.
Wow, you got lucky, buddy. So this is why you haven't been turning up at Flourish Furnishings?
Yes, Jim.
Just thought I'd ask. Nice excuse.
It got shellac yesterday, polyurethane last night, polyurethane this morning. No wax yet, but I got 1 day left.
You and Cal need to get together. You run projects right up to the 11th hour, 11th minute.
I didn't know I was going to do it till last month.
Okay.
So that's my
Anybody
excuse.
got any questions about this particular box? You hand cut these dovetails?
I did.
You didn't sound real enthusiastic about that.
Well, the first rendition of this box, I cut a pair of dovetails where they went the same direction.
Been there.
So
I've even done that on a Lee dovetail machine.
well, I got one too, but I decided I didn't want them evenly spaced. So
Awesome.
cut them by
Questions?
hand.
Thank you, sir. Any more projects? Yes, sir.
From the skill to the basic. During the winter, it was too cold in the shop, but I finally got out there and got into a cleanup mode and have all this scrap laying around. I can't throw it away. I can't put it in the solo stove. And I thought, I'll make a clipboard. My wife had a clipboard that kind of looked like this, although it was all out of walnut. And I've got some son-in-laws who are starting a construction business. And I thought, well, I'll make
Bad decision.
I questioned that myself, but I thought, well, I'll give them a little office memento here. So I had these various pieces of wood: cherry, walnut, Osage orange, oak, maple, spalted maple. So I glued them up. One of the things that I found is that the hardware for these is a little tricky. You go online. If you get the standard clipboard, the old chromed clamp, a Rockler will sell you that for $10. And that seemed high to me and ugly. And so I looked around and I found
hate to tell you, but we've got a Rockler representative sitting in the front row here, bud.
Mark it down. It's too high.
My apologies, but just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. So anyway, finding these clips for $3 or $4 on the line, and also finding 3/8 inch screws is a bit of a challenge. Rockler has those, number 4 screws, 3/8 of an inch long, and these are 17/16 of an inch thick. That's probably the most challenging thing. Is I didn't want them to be a 1/2 inch. It looks too bulky. 3/8 is too thin, so they're at 7/16. But it's a lot of fun, kind of making a jigsaw puzzle, playing with different woods and seeing how they go together.
And you finished them with?
The general finishes.
That you brought from Rockler? Yes.
Yes, I did, yeah. Every day.
Anybody got any questions about these?
It's a great little gift item and not difficult.
Nice. You should. You got a stamp on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good, Cliff. Thank you. That it?
Still on. Awesome projects. Thanks to everybody who brought them in, and anybody who's working on something, bring it in next month. This is so great, man. This is really a level up. This is amazing projects this week. So we're doing good on time. We're going to take about a 8-minute break. 7. He said 7. I said 8. So somewhere in that vicinity. Go back and check out the items for raffle. And we'll be back in about 7.5 minutes now with the Tormek demonstration.
Your safety and the safety of all members when using any of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's hand or power tools is the #1 concern your safety committee and the board of directors of the Guild. Nearly every woodworking project will need to be sized and smoothed by one of the Guild's power surface planers. Currently, we have 2 planers in service and available for the membership to use. One is a 15-inch jet planer and the other a 20-inch grizzly planer. Hi, my name is Christine Kessler and welcome to the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Today, we will cover the safety rules and requirements of the Guild's power surface planers and how to safely operate these machines. Keep in mind that this video is targeted to only cover the operational safety points of our power surface planers and is not designed to be a complete training program in the use of these machines. A power surface planer is used to smooth and dimension your lumber to the final thickness needed to construct your project. Both of the planers currently in the Guild inventory have helical cutting heads that smooth the top of any boards fed into the machine. Each of the machines have an adjustable table that raises and lowers to allow you to plane lumber, making multiple passes to a very accurate and specific thickness and smoothness. Remember, when you are in the shop, please direct any questions about using our planers and any of the other Guild equipment to the on-duty shop foreman. She or he is there to act as a vital resource to keep you safe, providing advice and assistance to successfully complete your project. While you are in the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild shop, you must wear OSHA-approved safety glasses with side shields at all times. Irregular glasses are not approved for use in any shop activity while you are at the Guild. The noise created in the operation of a surface planer might make you wear plugs or earmuffs. While not a safety requirement of the Guild, it is solely a personal decision. However, there is one caution on hearing protection. Our Guild's rules stipulate that any hearing protection worn by members must not have the ability to receive any type of broadcast media. Failure to follow this requirement may result in losing your shop privileges. Additionally, you should not wear any loose clothing or jewelry. Long hair should be tied back to prevent it from catching in the machine and drawing you into it, which can result in significant injury. Before surfacing any material on the thickness planer, the material must be flat and true on one face and not less than 12 inches in length. Flat material will have first been surfaced on a jointer or flattened by hand planing. A board not flattened and put through the planer will result in a board that is smooth, but that will mirror the warp, twist, cup, or bend to the other side of the board. You should examine your material and remove any loose knots from your board before planing so that they are not caught by the cutters and turned into projectiles when fed into the machine. Another solution to loose knots is that they may be locked into place by applying an epoxy resin to fill any gaps. However, application of epoxies will delay your planing operations until the epoxy completely cures. Any and all reclaimed lumber must be presented to the foreman on duty before machining to determine its suitability for use. It must also be thoroughly checked for any hidden nails or other metals with an approved metal detector. Treated green, yellow, or other ground contact lumber is banned from use at the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. These lumbers have been treated with chemicals that may have negative health consequences. Before starting, adjust the planer to a thickness that allows the boards that you are going to be planing to pass easily under the cutting head without removing any more than 1/32 to 1/16 of an inch of material. Always run wood through the planer with the grain running parallel to the length of the planer bed. Never plane across the grain or across an in-grain slab. This will almost certainly cause tear out, and it may happen in an explosive manner by damaging the planer and possibly injuring the operator. While planer kickbacks are rare, they are potentially violent. When feeding stock into the planer, always stand to the left or right of the feed table to be clear of any kickback should it happen. Extremely dry or brittle wood also has the potential to shatter and be ejected from the infeed side of the planer. If the board is thicker on one end than the other and jams in the machine, do not shut it off. Slowly crank open the height adjustment wheel until the board resumes feeding through the planer. Should the machine lock up and trip the circuit breaker, crank open the feed table until you can clear the jam and then immediately notify the foreman so that they can reset the breaker and you can resume working. If you need to plane any stock that is equal to or less than 3/8 of an inch thick, you must use a backer board. If the stock to be planed is equal to or less than 1/4 of an inch thick, it is too thin to be fed through any of our planers and must be hand planed or may possibly be fed through a wide belt or edge sander. As you feed stock into the planer, be careful not to get your fingers pinched in between the stock and the infeed table. The downward pressure of the feed rollers on the stock presents a substantial crush injury risk. Keep your hands, fingers, and any other body parts more than 3 inches away from the infeed ports of the machine at all times. It is acceptable to have a helper catch your material as it exits the planer. He or she should place the boards on top of the planer's return rollers or stack the material on a cart and nearby table. If the planer's attached dust collector has a warning light and it begins flashing while you are planing, shut down your operation and the dust collector and remove and empty the dust barrel attached to the collector. Again, if you're not sure how to do this, ask your foreman for some assistance and you'll be a pro before you know it. When finished, shut down the planer and then the dust collector. However, if your planer is sharing its dust collector with another machine, make sure that another member isn't using the shared machines. If so, leave the dust collector running so that they can safely complete their operation. Check around your work area for dust and debris. Clean up both the machine and the adjacent floor area. Please remember, be alert and always be safe. For the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild, this is Christine Kessler. Thanks for watching.
So let's wrap it up. All right, let's go ahead and get our program going. We've had the. Are you guys good to go? Okay. We've certainly, everyone knows, we've had Rockler in town, what, a year and a half now? 2 years? Yeah. So Daniel has been here before, so I won't. I think a lot of people have seen our sharpening stuff here in the guild, and not many people know how to use it. So we're excited to have you guys show us. So we'll hand it over to you guys.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, thank you for having us here. I recognize a lot of you, so thank you for being customers of Rockler. Everyone I don't recognize, please come on in and say hello. There's a lot we can do for you. Selfishly, I'll tell you, we sell lumber, power tools, stationary tools. We sell things for your clipboard, Cliff. We sell a lot of things. Some things are a little more expensive than they should be. I would totally agree. Inflation's been tough on everyone. But today, Matt invited us in. We thank you very, very much for inviting us in. This is our Tormek. We have the T8 and the T4 version sold inside of our stores. This is going to be $900, and the T4, I believe, is $500. But what you're here for tonight is to see how it works. How do you use it? James and I have been working together for many years. In fact, we come from Sacramento together. He either loved me or Rockler enough to come all the way to Kansas, but it's been fantastic. He's going to show you how to sharpen some turning tools, and then also I think a member here brought in some chef knives. Fantastic. So we're going to sharpen one of those. Feel free to ask questions at any time. James does have a microphone here. He can answer your questions. And then afterwards, if there's something you want sharpened, we could probably take you through there before they turn the lights off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this is James, everybody, and here we go.
And I ask you, please be patient. I'm not used to speaking in front of big crowds. Daniel, we need a lot more water, okay?
You got it, bud.
Thank you. So, Tormek is basically the kind of the Cadillac of sharpeners. For those of you who don't know, if you're using an old-fashioned dry grinding stone, you can easily get your tool too hot, take the temper out of the metal, and then it just doesn't hold an edge at all. The Tormek will never do that. Your typical low-speed grinders run around 1,700 RPMs. This guy runs at 80 RPMs. It's a wet grind, so between the low speed and the moisture, it just never gets hot. So you can't take the temper out of your
I spilled it last time, so.
And of course, being a wet grind, the stone sucks up a whole lot of water, so it.
And it's just tap water. I think somebody asked earlier about distilled water. This one is just tap water.
Yeah. This stone will easily suck up 24 ounces of water. So when you first start it up, you want to kind of fill it up, let it suck up some water, then add some more until it stays. You don't have. It stays wet. You can see it's already drying out here. It's because it sucked up that much water. And of course, if you get the little tray here a little too full, the tray is very shallow on the side that's facing the machine. You can actually flood your workbench real easy. One of the reasons I brought a towel.
Any questions while he's starting? Yeah. So I was saying, is there any questions as he's starting?
It is important to keep the wheel moving as you're adding the water so it doesn't get heavy in one spot. Is that correct?
It's not really important to do it. I mean, you can do it by having the wheel stopped and wait until it's sucked up to about 1.5 inches in, and then rotate the wheel a little bit. I find it's just a little easier and faster to keep the wheel moving.
Any specific reason?
Balance on there.
No,
Heavy on one side. Okay.
Never has on my at least on the old Tormek I've got at home.
Do you need more?
Yes, please.
All right.
I'm going to adjust your microphone so quick. You're
A little low for you. There we go. So I brought a number of the jigs that we carry at Rockler to let you know what's available. For you carvers, if you're wanting to rehone your carving tools, They even have a strop that mounts on the outside here of the flat strop, so as you can hone your U-shaped gouges or your V gouges, and get them all nice and resharpened. They have tools that for actually sharpening some of your hand gouges that you would use for your carving. They make jigs for sharpening big butcher knives down to your little small carving knives. Several jigs for the turning tools. So even jigs for sharpening scissors or axes.
I have a question for you. Does it do the carbide tools also?
Yes. The same jig that I've got here on this bowl gouge, you actually would take sometimes it's a little, you gotta take it. You would use just this part with an additional part. If I can find the thing in here. I guess I didn't bring that part, but there's a jig that you would put in here, and you would screw your carbide down, and it would actually sharpen your carbides. And you can, if you want, when you come back up, I can show you how it's done, but the picture is actually shown right here on the back of the box how to do it. So it makes it very easy to do. The one thing that I never fully understood with the Tormek is they've got this jig here, but you have to buy the setup jig to set this up separately. Never quite understood that. But if any of you that are turners, you know that getting the constant changing of angle on your bowl gouges accurate and smooth is a big trick. So they came out with this jig here, and you use this in combination with a little sheet like this, and you just look for the profile that you want for your bowl gouge, and it's got 3 settings that you set up. The first setting just tells you where to put this angle. Second one tells you how far to have your chisel set into the tool, which is done with these right here, and you just butt it up against there and tighten it down. Third one they give you is it just says hole A or hole B. So for the profile I'm using, it's saying hole A. So you just find hole A here, slide it on your tool, and what you're doing is the 2 metal dials there, the 2 metal wheels on it, you're just setting it until both those wheels are actually touching the stone, and you lock it down.
Is it touching the stone?
Yeah. Once these 2 metal discs are touching the stone, that tells you got this at the right distance. And then you can just take and you slide your tool on. Need more water. Like I said, this stone is very thirsty. It's amazing how much water it actually sucks up. But you would just take and now normally I would be doing this from the other side. And you would just keep, and you can see how it raises the tool, keeps it keeps the angle even all the way around, so that you can actually end up resharpening your tools. This one's was sharpened by somebody else at one point, and it's a little bit off. So I've just, in that short time, I've probably cleaned off about 1/8 of an inch, getting it back to the right angle. Would take me about another 5 to 10 minutes to actually finish resharpening this. So it doesn't take very long, even though it's a really slow speed. And you would also use this jig yeah.
So what you're saying is when you have the proper grind on there, it wouldn't still take 5 to 10 minutes to sharpen. It's only when you're resharpening a different
Right.
grind. Okay.
So if you're conscientious, you want to just, you're starting a new project, say a new bowl or something, you're going to, give it a quick touch up, which will only take, probably 30 seconds on the stone, about the same on 30, maybe a minute or two to set it up.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
And what I told a lot of people is, first time I ever used the Tormek to sharpen my bowl gouges, I turned right around to do some hollowing on a big chunk of madrone burl. I was shocked when I got ribbons that were 10 and 12 feet long while hollowing this madrone burl. Made me a believer in this tool from then on. The same jig here can also be used to sharpen, say, your oval skews, and just by mounting it in and setting up the angles. And at the bottom half of the card, it gives you the same settings to use. So they've made it real easy to use. One of the trickiest things is there's 2 of these cards in the box for setting them up. Finding the right one, because this one it's English on one side, and let's see, Swedish on the other side. The other one is French and German. So it's made in Sweden, so it's got an 8-year warranty. It's a really reliable tool. As I said, this one can be used for both your bowl gouges and your oval skews. For your regular flat skews, you would use this jig here. And it has, they're hard to see, you can't really see them here, but right here has all your angles, so you can actually set up your angles. And instead of sliding on the bar, you got literally just brace it against the bar like this after you've set all your distances, and you just move it back and forth. Very simple. Everything that they've made is designed to work with the bar. They do make, instead of buying everything separately, you can buy, say, they've got a kit that you can buy that is all the jigs that you need for all your wood turning. They've even got a jig for your flat, your non-helical planer blades. Multiple jigs for your flat table. Everyone needs one of them. Jigs for your knives. This one, pretty easy. You just clamp your knife in here. And when you've got you just visually, set your angle until it's what you want, and just moving it back and forth across the stone again. Let's see, forget what that one is. So this would be for your small knives. This is for your big knives. This is the one I use to do your cleaver for you.
Thank you.
And if you're working with flat chisels, like he's brought in, or your blades for your hand planes. We have a nice jig here, very simple to use. You just put your blade in. Hey, that wasn't even supposed to be. What was that? Why is that on there? I don't know why that one's on there. In fact, right now I don't know where it came from, so I'll have to look through my jigs to figure out where that came from. But you would feed it in, try to square it all up, and I got the blade in upside down. Sorry about that. I'm not used to speaking publicly.
You're supposed to do that every time.
Hmm?
You're supposed to do that every time. Put
Yeah.
one in upside down so you don't.
It's not uncommon for me. But once you've got it in, it's just a matter of, again, you set it, bring it in, and I always just, sorry about that, I just visually, adjust until it's where I'm seeing just the blade touching the stone at the proper angle. And then I just start resharpening it. And because it's always, you can keep it all nice and flat, it makes it super easy. You always get a nice, smooth, even sharpening.
When you're turning, how often do you sharpen your tools?
Depends on the wood I'm turning or the material. When I'm turning stuff like some of the hybrid bowls and such, I'll normally resharpen my gouges. I'll touch it up before every bowl. If it's some of the softer woods, I'll go one or 2 or 3 bowls. If it's desert ironwood, I'll sharpen it up a couple times during that one project because it just dulls your tool so fast. As I see, okay, I'm not getting as good a cut, that's when I stop and sharpen them.
On the chisel? Hello? On the chisel, can you, is there a way to flatten the flat side of the chisel with this tool?
You mean the back side? Not really.
You can put it on the side of the wheel.
Oh. Okay. Thank you, Jim.
I had one for 15 years.
So to repeat, Jim said that you can flatten it by putting it on the side of the wheel.
So what you're saying is basically holding it like this.
There you go.
I hadn't even thought of that. I don't think of that side of the wheel as part of the functioning wheel, but.
And then do you have a chef knife?
Yeah. We have a chef knife right here. You sure you want me to do this?
Will it be sharper than it is now?
Yeah.
Then I want
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you wanted me to do it. I'm very cautious with somebody else's property.
That's my son-in-law. We can use that.
I love it.
Two questions, really. The first is, how often do you have to dress that stone?
Not very often. I haven't redressed it and flattened my stone in probably the last 5 years. If you are redressing the stone, it's actually pretty easy to do. You would move this up to the upper layer here. And you got this little incremental wheel for lowering it. You would not tighten this down. And this is used for dressing the stone. You just, again, slide, everything's done on the bar. And right here you have a diamond bit on it. And you just, so I'm a little too high right now. I'm a lot too high. So you just bring it down to where it's just barely touching the stone. And each pass as it's running, you would just slowly bring it across, let it do its thing. When you get across you want to lower it down just 1/6 of a turn. So I don't know if you can see it on the lake right here, but there's it's actually marked on the wheel here. So you just would lower it down 1/6 every time until you get your stone reflattened. Last time I had to do it for mine was because I'd just gotten the machine and I had a big gouge across the stone. And it took about, I would say 15-20 minutes for us to take this gouge that was about 3/16 of an inch deep out of the stone. But I have not had to resharpen it again or redress it since then.
My next question is, could you please tell us what the grit is on that stone, and can you get different grit stones?
I forget what the grit is on it, but one of the things that comes with that you can get with this is a stone that when you're running it, if you press the stone down on it one way, it makes a finer grit. You rotate the stone, press it down for about 30 seconds, and it'll make a coarser grit stone. And it changes the grit on the stone almost immediately. So if you've got a tool that is really out of whack, you would first, change the stone to the coarser grits, get it close in, change it back to the fine grit, and you can get an almost mirror finish on it.
Thank you.
So the guild members get a 10 or 15% discount if they come into the store to buy one of those machines?
Daniel, that's your answer.
Tormek would tell me no, but if you buy the machine, the other things that come with it, I can handle those.
Okay, so he said that Tormek won't allow him to give a discount on the machine itself, but if we go into the store to buy the machine, he can offer a discount on the attachments, on the jigs.
Jigs run anywhere from about $75 up to about $100.
I got a question. When you were putting that chisel in there, and you started putting the knife in there, is there a mechanism to get it squared in there, or were you eyeballing it, or how'd you?
There actually is. It's a little hard to see from over the.
Right by the water can.
Oh, over here.
You were at the first time. Perfect.
So the back of this blade is a little bit rounded, but if you look, I'm trying to get it angled so you can see it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
There's actually a little step in the jaws that you back you put the back of the blade up to.
And something similar for the chisel jig as well.
For this jig?
No, for the chisel.
Oh, for the chisel, no, there isn't. There's not any stop on that.
So how'd you get that square?
Normally, I would actually use one of my squares.
Okay.
To
'Cause
do
you just
it.
eyeballed it, but okay. That's
Yeah, I
fine.
just eyeballed it, and I knew I wasn't really square.
Okay, that answered my question.
Any other questions? I'd be happy, to show you some.
Do you put a micro bevel on your flat chisels? A micro bevel on your flat chisels?
I haven't, no. Anyone else?
What kind of things go wrong when people use those?
Generally, I haven't seen much where people have gone wrong. I mean, the biggest oops I've seen anyone make was one of our employees from our store in Rockland, California. He bought one of the roughing gouges, and he literally put the roughing gouge in this guy to resharpen it, which turned it into an oversized bowl gouge. So I had to convert it back to a roughing gouge with the uniform 45-degree bevel all the way around.
What about Andrew last week? What did you do there?
Andrew is the reason this stone is not properly gray. I don't know what he was trying to sharpen, but he put the... Really? But he used our table, and I couldn't help but notice that the table that he used had this on it, which is supposed to go on your strop. So I may want to take and clean, resurface this stone just because of that.
Can I make a couple of comments?
Sure, please.
I've owned one of these for 15 years, basically, and we have one back here. Basically, I use mine for chisels and plane blades. Now, this is a little bit different than using a block of stone, because you're going to get a hollow ground on this. And basically what that is, if that's your chisel, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get a little bit of a hollow ground because of the radius of that wheel. And we've had, Dave Kratz and I have had a lot of conversations about the purity of using one of these as opposed to a block. And I acquired a set of Lee Nielsen chisels, and I still sharpen those with a block as opposed to doing the hollow ground. But this is a 3-step process. You put the coarse stone on that wheel, and you can take off easily 1/8 of an inch of steel in 30 seconds. It's just, the advantage of this is you have that bar system, and so all you do is change the grit on the wheel, and you get like a 4,000 grit on the wheel to really fine tune it, and then you put it on the strop. It is really a great system, and it's really quick. If you've got chisels that you want to throw away, give them to me. I'll fix them up in a couple of minutes. The other advantage of this is, well, I tried using I tried planer blades and joiner blades. The jig that they have for them, that wasn't the greatest investment I ever made, because if you're sliding that 12 inches or a planer blade across a system, there's just going to be some variation in it. But doing plane blades and chisels and knives, boy, I mean, I've got 4 or 5 neighbors in my ladies that come down. Jim, can you sharpen my knives? Okay. So it's a great machine. I probably need to buy a new wheel for mine because my wheel is down to about 9 inches. But yeah, I mean, you can take a couple hours and sharpen all your blades. It's that quick.
You said there's one right back there, right?
Yeah, there's one back here.
I mean, it
they're
took me-
relatively easy to use. There's probably YouTube videos on
There
how
are.
to use them.
There are YouTube videos, and they tell you, like if you're trying to sharpen your bowl gouges, first thing they tell you is sharpen the wings first. Once you got the wings sharp and even, then worry about the center. And they give you step by step how to do everything.
The other thing is, Tormac lost their patent rights on this about 4 years ago. Now there's a couple other companies that basically make the same. The jigs are a little bit different, but they're the same concept.
Rikon makes a knockoff of it that's about $200 or so. The jigs all do work on it. But you can hear the difference when you start up the motor. You can hear the difference in the machines.
What's
the Rikon
wheel
has.
left for?
When you sharpen up a knife really fine, you got that little burr on it. The strop is for taking that burr off, and it says you have that super fine edge.
So do you use the bar for that, or there's no need for it, just do it by hand?
No, you can use the bar. I normally just do it by hand when I'm using my strop, because you're only using the strop for just a few seconds. You're not, give you an idea how fast it is. Your cleaver only took me about 20 minutes to get to where it is now, and you remember how bad that thing was. It was in pretty bad shape.
I don't turn, so I don't use any of the turning tools. But if you turn, it's a real valuable tool. I'm almost a must, because it is so easy to use and so easy to touch up your tools.
It really does make a difference. I touch up my tools in no time flat. All my turning chisels are sharp enough to cut a witty thought. I mean, I can't say enough about it. I love the tool. I think it's the best sharpening tool system out there.
Can you sharpen the kitchen knife?
Mm-hmm.
I know that one's really dull, and I'm sure Terry would like to get that thing sharpened.
It is actually pretty darn dull.
Yeah. It won't even make a good butter knife. Yeah.
If you need to go around the other side, you can for that. It's overhead.
It's a little awkward to do it from the other side. Question is, how fine an edge do you want on it?
I want to cut steak. Vegetables.
Dave, what is it? 11 degrees is Japanese, and 25 degrees is American.
I have no idea.
15 is American.
No,
15 is Japanese. Okay.
I'm not used to doing this with an audience.
They're only looking at your back.
It's definitely sharper than it was.
Yeah. That's not sharpening it. It's definitely sharper than it was. It will cut back. There you go.
Yeah, it needs a little bit more.
Now, do you empty the water from there when you're finished for the so if you're finished for the day, you empty the water?
I do, and I rinse it out because
You get the findings in there, yeah.
You'll get really fine metal filings, and you'll end up with a coat of rust in the bottom. Before I brought it in, I cleaned it because of that. I am going for a little sharper angle than what was on this originally.
So there is a magnet in the bottom of that water tray too.
There is not.
Oh, ours has one.
Yeah, most people will glue a small rare earth magnet in there.
Yeah. The one that the Guild has is an older model. It's still green. It has the magnets in the bottom of the water tray.
Mine doesn't. And mine's the older green one. But they'll last forever. Yeah, we're starting to develop a burr there, so that's a good thing. Of course, you don't want to push too hard on this because you can actually stop the wheel. It's
So when you're turning it or sharpening it with a curved blade, that jig keeps it at the same angle all the way on the curve?
pretty much, yes. I always rotate it a little bit like you're seeing what I'm doing on the strop, just to adjust for that curve to try and keep it square. So it sharpens the blade pretty quick. I mean, that fast. It was developing a burr which is why I went to the strop to take the burr off and clean. Left still a little bit of the burr on there, so I'll have to.
So if it leaves a nice burr on there, would it also be good for sharpening a scraper?
Yeah.
Card scraper?
I don't. I would imagine so.
Got to follow.
I've never sharpened a card scraper, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Then I would use a file.
Okay. Forget it. Yeah. Don't do the card scraper.
That's better. I think that'll cut things for you now.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I've got a question on, you can put that bracket on so you can grind either way on the, either into the bevel or away from the bevel. Can you talk about the advantages of each direction? Like on a chisel?
Yeah.
Or
on
a
that,
blade
I'm not
blade.
so sure. I'm not.
So you're cutting on the knife so that the blade it travels away from the blade.
Mhm.
Right? It's turning this way.
Right, it's turning away from the blade. If you're turning into the blade, I would. This doesn't have a reverse, but if you were to try and, if you were doing it from the top, you would turn it where it was coming in. I would think that would at least eliminate the opportunity of having a burr on the blade.
Right.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
You said with the hand planes, the blade for the hand planes, you got one of those that
I do not.
doesn't have a jig for the hand plane?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
You would use this guy.
You would use that for hand planes?
Yeah.
They have jigs for damn near everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anything that needs to be sharpened.
Yeah. I mean, they've even got a jig for your axe.
Which is a lot of fun.
I mean, if you can imagine that.
Here's the jig for the plane irons.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Oh, okay, because that's what he's asking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for the hand plane.
Yeah, for the plane irons. That's this one.
Yeah, that blade, okay.
James, thank you very much for showing us what you're doing. We really appreciate it. One thing I know we don't offer a high salary for your presentation tonight, but the only way to get one of these coffee mugs is to present down at the Guild. So, a
Well,
little
thank you.
token of our thanks. Appreciate it. And that's your.
Thank you.
That's actually your mug shot. So you have to get a picture with me. That's your
Okay.
punishment. That's your punishment. All right. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Thank
Feel
you.
free, everyone, to come up and check out these jigs, and remember to go to Rockler. Come up and talk to James, Daniel. Thank you guys again for your time. Appreciate you all coming tonight, and until next time, feel free to help clean up, and have a great night.
I need to see how you do that.
A special thank you to our guest today, to the Guild's Leadership Committee, and to all of our sponsors. For more information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events, please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.